So, what are these signals in the first place, and what do they represent? What is being communicated? Now, perhaps these signals are inspired by shortwave radio number stations, although in the narrative of Twin Peaks, they seem to represent a sort of chatter which seems to be coming from somewhere in the forest, or at least through the forest as a portal in some way. Regardless of their inspiration or source location, which is irrelevant, and I'll explain why, it seems to be that the conscious nature of the universe, or the all is mind type of cosmology, is what is really at the heart of what is being communicated here. In other words, the conscious unfolding and evolution of the entire manifest world and the life it contains emanates from the source of pure awareness, or cosmic consciousness, if you like. I know it sounds woo-woo to the uninitiated, which is to say everything in our reality is a sort of conscious awareness, which is an ancient spiritual idea often attributed to the East, which has been continually bolstered by science, especially in the fields of quantum physics and in roughly the past century, I would say specifically. Now, as opposed to the very recent and opposite view of the 18th century reductionist materialism, which presumes consciousness to be nothing more than a mere byproduct of the biochemical processes of the physical world, I'm not here to convince nor sell anyone on which of these is right or wrong, but I think you can figure out where I come down on this. But rather, I just want to say that it seems that the communications or messages that Briggs has been tasked with monitoring are emanating from Glastonbury Grove, an ephemeral and elusive portal somewhere in the forest which serves as the gateway to the Red Room. Of course, later in the season 3, it seems there is a different portal present in the forest as well. There may even be more of these trans-dimensional gopher holes spread all around. The Red Room, of course, being the plenum between two worlds, or perhaps the gateway to the Black Lodge, however you think of it. Leaving the mortal realm through this portal means all bets are off. Interpret as you see fit, but human understanding may no longer apply in such a place. And of course, how could we ignore the same message coming from the Log Lady, Major Briggs, and now the Giant? And that message between all three of these characters is the owls are not what they seem. Bob, of course, is the embodiment of the base animalistic desires, but even more fundamental than that, Bob and the other Black Lodge entities, or at least we presume they're Black Lodge entities, are the dwellers on the threshold that Hawk speaks about. The dark dwellers peering from the outside into the illuminated souls of the living like moths to a flame. The Black Lodge is the void of eternal darkness after all, which is the opposite of and thereby attracted to the White Lodge, or the light of the realm of the living, a sort of natural attractor force, perhaps. So on a basic energetic level, in respect to universal laws and to physics, the darkness is always surrounding the light. In a sense, it is on the outside looking in, waiting for its chance to snuff out the light at every opportunity. This transcends good and evil. This is neither good nor bad. This is just the way things are. This is just physics and reality. So it does, the darkness does so simply by its nature, without deference to human conceptions, of course, transcending good and evil altogether. We as humans depend upon the torchbearers in our society for our very survival in this shroud of darkness. So there's a lot of meaning and meaninglessness, or light and dark play in Twin Peaks, and this is kind of what we are. This is what's being intimated through these characters. Now, skipping ahead to episode 7 of season 2 now, also directed by David Lynch, Cooper and Sheriff Truman investigate the apparent suicide of Mrs. Tremond's next-door neighbor, the reclusive and deeply troubled Harold Smith. A note, presumably left behind by Harold, read simply, "J'ai une âme solitaire." I have a lonely soul. These very same words were spoken by the creepy grandson of Mrs. Tremond a few episodes previously. Similar to the scene with the owl superimposed over Bob's face, which I interpret as a watcher in the darkness waiting for the precise moment to move in, Harold's neighbors, as entities from the Black Lodge, were presumably waiting for the right moment to do their thing to move in on Harold. Now, Harold Smith had a special kinship with Laura Palmer. Like Laura, it is likely that Harold suffered childhood trauma of his own, hence the special bond between these two fatalistic characters. Both Laura and Harold alike seem to share another kind of connection as well, each being observed carefully by characters or spirits emanating from the dark underworld. A certain fatalistic curse seemed to have followed both Laura and Harold to no fault of their own, but rather victims of unfortunate circumstance. Now, a short time after, in the same episode, Log Lady approaches Agent Cooper and Sheriff Truman in the police station. She tells Agent Cooper, "We don't know what will happen or when, but there are owls in the roadhouse." As discussed earlier, the owls Margaret is referring to are the watchers in the dark. In other words, the forces of darkness pushing inward against the light. An owl is also a way of describing a predator, okay? Now, the message being relayed to Agent Cooper from the Log Lady is one of utmost importance. Margaret Lanterman in the story is a seer. She is a great sage peering out from the light and into the abyss. So if the spirits of the Black Lodge are from on the dark periphery peering into the light, Margaret Lanterman, even despite her struggles and her trauma, she stands firmly in the light looking out into the abyss. And so she's watching the watchers, okay? So the log she holds from the forest home to the owls is indeed a conduit or a gateway between the worlds of darkness and light, but it is also fuel for a fire should she need it. Now, immediately after the Log Lady scene in the sheriff's office, we are shown the full moon, followed by a progression of different revelations, beginning with Catherine Martell and Pete. Then Sarah Palmer sees the white horse, an indication she's been drugged. Bob's possession of Leland, we're shown that. And the owls of the roadhouse communicating the unfortunate news to Agent Cooper in the form of the giant and the old man. So this is a very important episode.